So Titleist have got some new irons. 4 new models, T100, T100s, T200 and T300. And I've got my hands on them today. I'm going to put them through the paces and let you know how good they are and which model might just be the perfect iron for you. So I'm going to start off with the 7 irons in the 4 different models, slightly different lofts, and I'm going to talk you through the lofts as I'm hitting the shots. Going to talk about what that's going to change and which type of golfer might want maybe T100 progressing through those sets. But like I said, you know, it's about finding which model, if you're in the market, might be best suited for you. I'm also going to hit a longer iron and a shorter iron, maybe a wedge in each, just as a bit of extra feedback. And I've also got the new utility irons that are coming in my next video. So keep an eye out for that one, because that, I think, is something that I'm particularly looking at for my bag. And I think a few guys out there might also be really interested in that one. Right, so I'm going to start with the T100. So 7 irons, 34 degrees. So not super strong loft, so much more traditional. And as soon as I pick this iron up, before I hit it, which is maybe a bit presumptuous, love the look of that. I think from the back, that looks absolutely classic, really good looking golf club. And down behind the golf ball, that really fits my eye. Nice thin top line, you know, looks much more like a blade. So definitely ticking all the boxes so far. Let's hit a few shots and see how it performs. So just a little bit pushy. Club head speed round about where I would expect. Launch angle good. And definitely there for a 34 degrees 7 iron. That kind of going round about what I would expect. Smash maybe a little lower than I was looking for. But do you know what? That felt really soft off the golf club. That feels absolutely amazing. So perfect strike, good ball speed, good smash factor. And again, right on the numbers of what I would be looking for. And I think because I'm currently using a 7 iron very similar loft, you know, that for me fits my iron looks, and certainly the numbers on TrackMan kind of very much backing up what I would be looking for. Now that one, not quite as good a strike. And we can see the ball speed dropping off a little bit. Spin staying up though, so that's good. Nice high spin, but definitely a little bit of a drop off in distance. And I think that's what you'd expect to see with T100. This is, I don't like calling it a better players club, but certainly for the golfer who consistently finds very close to the middle, this will be a very workable club and very, very consistent on performance. Again, there, better strike. Maybe just leaking a little bit to the right. But again, pretty good numbers. And round about what I would expect. So let's just look at, even though I've only hit a few shots there, let's look at the average for T100. And I'm expecting that to really perform very similar to my 7 iron, like I said, because the setup is incredibly close. Okay, so carry at 155.7, total at 167, club speed roundabout where I'd expect to be, ball speed a little back on where I'd like it to be, but weren't all absolutely flushed, but launching around 19 degrees, spinning at just under 7,000, which is a really healthy spin number expected from a 7 iron at that loft. So T100s. Now, still gorgeous looking golf club as you'd expect to see, but 2 degrees stronger, so now 32 degrees. And I know you might ask, you know, why would you make a model that's just 2 degrees almost with the same name? Well, particularly for the guy who maybe spins it too much, maybe a bit quicker swing than me, present the club a little differently. The idea of the T100s is maybe a little bit lower spin. Still, we're looking for enough spin to get that peak height and stopping. I don't think you necessarily need the extra speed, but that's what we'd hope for with that less loft. So still good looking behind the golf ball. Let's see how the T100s works. That one a little bit pushy. Felt solid though. You can definitely see a little jump in ball speed. Just launching a smidge lower. Spin rate marginally lower. And therefore a little bit more carry. So nice. I think it's always good when what you expect from a club gets delivered. And do you know what? Part of me doesn't mind that little bit extra distance, even the length I hit the ball. Now there's that poor one. There's a toe strike. And you see it's a little bit out the toe, 15 millimeters. You see a big drop off in ball speed. Spin drops down, and therefore distance drops down. So we can definitely see with T100 and T100s, if your ball striking isn't quite there, you do see a reasonable drop off even at 7-iron. I do like the feel. Definitely feels quicker. I know that could be an odd one, and that's maybe because I test a lot of product. And we can see there 118 ball speed, definitely spinning a little bit less. And I think either of those, I could quite easily put those in the bag. I'm just turning a bit more than I would like, but pretty consistent. So before I look at the average there with T100s, I'm going to run through the other models and then put all the averages side by side and just see how they change performance-wise because of the different lofts. Right, T200. So now very different looking when you look at the back of the golf club. So hollow design. I still think actually looks like a modern muscle back from the back, but we know there's potentially more forgiveness here. Wider sole. 799 down to 31 degrees, so not a massive change, but we should certainly see, again, a bit more ball speed, maybe slightly lower spin, but more forgiveness on those miss hits. Now, behind the ball, definitely noticeably bigger head, thicker top line. Still, for me, a top line that I don't think is too bad to look at. So I think if the performance is there, I could very quickly get used to that. But let's go T200. I definitely didn't feel like I got all of that one. So a little bit toey, but we can see that ball speed still stays up. And at 173, but much lower on spin rate. So I like the fact that that was not the best strike, but still got out there a really good distance. That felt better. And we can see again. So actually launching higher, even though these have got less loft. Ball speed's going up, spin's going down. So to be fair, as we're working through the bag, these clubs are doing what you would expect. And probably say, as I'm working up through, maybe not quite as good to look at. Certainly feel-wise, definitely not as soft as T100 or T100s, but still feels very, very good off the club face. And yeah, I mean, that's high. So because it's high, we should get the ball coming down a little bit steeper and very, very consistent on distances. And the final one of the new irons is T300. So you can look from the back. I mean, this one does look rammed full of technology. Obviously, much lower CG, 29 degrees loft now. So even though the irons have been getting less lofted, we've been seeing a higher launch angle with more ball speed and lower spin. So kind of still giving that forgiveness, getting more distance. So you can see for the golfer, maybe who is less consistent with striking, as we're going up through the models, we're seeing more forgiveness, more distance. So you'd have to, from a fitting perspective, see which one was best for you. Now, when I put T300 behind the golf ball, definitely for me, this is the least visually appealing of the irons. Very thick top line, long blade, but to be fair, this looks like it's going to hit it a long way. So I've got the same shaft in all of these, Dynamic Gold S300. So, you know, it's not that I'm changing the shaft iron to iron. That one just staying slightly right. But again, we can see, actually launch angle a little bit lower there, but ball speed really starting to ramp up. And actually there, some really impressive spin numbers. Now, obviously wouldn't necessarily go off a one-off shot as a sample size. So let's just hit 2 or 3 more. That does feel incredibly quick. Again, launching at 18, ball speed 125 and 180. So it's funny, definitely for me, probably T2 and T3, maybe not seeing the difference in spin numbers that I kind of expected, but are seeing ball speed numbers that I'm expecting. This is strong loft, but launching the ball at a good height, hitting it high, and hitting it a long way. That almost feels like I couldn't miss with that. So again, 125 ball speed, 180, and that one, the spin, that little bit lower. So let's go one final one with T300, and then we'll see how the different models stack up against each other. So that one didn't feel quite as good, no, toey, but we see very little drop off in ball speed, and that distance, hardly any drop off with that one out the toe. So T300 massively forgiving, working down to T100 being the least forgiving. But let's look at those irons side by side and see as the lofts went 34, 32, 31, 29, what difference we saw in performance. So you can see as we go T100 through to T300, we saw gradually more carry going from 153 to 178. Obviously for the total going from 159 to 187. Club head speed actually got a little bit quicker, but no real reason for that. But we saw a huge jump in ball speed, and again, as the lofts got stronger, we saw an increase from 112 to 125. Smash factor obviously went up, and interestingly there, how even though the lofts got a lot stronger, launch angle stayed pretty similar, but obviously spin rates changed, got lower. But very interestingly with T300, we saw there the actual spin rate jumped up a little bit higher than T200. When we look at the 4 irons on dispersion, certainly side to side, very, very much the same. But again, when we went T100 to T100s, front to back, fairly similar, a little bit of a mishit with the T100s, that toey strike. But we saw front to back much tighter on T200. And then as you would hope to see, the T300, the most forgiving front to back. So very little dispersion in the best to the worst strike. So we could see with the 7 irons there wasn't a massive change in dispersion side to side, because that ultimately comes down to me, but certainly front to back, we saw that the T300 was the most forgiving and the closest front to back on dispersion, then T200, and then the T100 and 100s, very, very similar. And obviously the ball went further with the ones that were less lofted, so the kind of club's doing what they want. Now, interestingly, for this year, the T200s, they've put longer irons in. So I've got a 3 iron and a 2 iron here. So I'm going to hit the 3 iron in here. So probably need this to be round about 210 carry if this is going to do what it needs to do. I mean, again, from the back, really good looking iron, and certainly down behind the golf ball, probably a little bit more compact than I was expecting it to look. But let's get hitting some shots and see. Solid strike, but really turning that one over. So quite a lot of shape. That's me though. 205 carry, so good. Decent height. And I definitely think the 2 and 3 iron in the T200 will be, certainly for the guy who's into T200, but for the T100 guys who want those longer irons, I think this will give that little bit more forgiveness on those misses. That one, bit better direction, a little bit thin if anything. And again, decent, but maybe just not quite going as far as I would want the 3 iron to go in this set. But all in all, it's a good looking iron. I think it's pretty easy to hit. and it definitely gets the ball up in the air. But maybe for me, as good as that one was, it's probably only just getting out where I would need. So I think the addition of long irons in the T200 are great. And like I said, they're good looking clubs, very forgiving. And if you are somebody that likes that kind of longer, forgiving, hollow iron, T200 is definitely a longer iron to consider. So it's fair, when you look at the wedges, we've got T100 on the left, 200 in the middle, and 300 on the right-hand side. Not as noticeable the difference, but certainly for me, still T100 fitting my eye. But all in all, really, really good. So ultimately, what did I think of the new irons from Titleist? I think heart definitely, for me personally, says T100 or T100s. Head probably says T200, because I do like the look and I love the forgiveness. I think T200 will probably be the most popular. I might be proved to be wrong, but I think T300 will also prove very popular with the guy who needs that little bit more forgiveness. But as ever, I always say, guys, if you're in the market for new irons, you need to get along, get fitted, see what actually performs well for you. And you never know, if you're going for the Titleist irons, you might even slightly blend some of the sets. Like I said, though, I've also got the new utility iron video coming very soon. So hopefully you've enjoyed today's video. If you have, like it and share it, comment below and I'll get back to as many people as I can. There's another video just there that hopefully you'll enjoy. Hopefully catch up with some of you guys down here soon. Stay in contact.